Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I'm Andrew Scaff. He's Mike Werman. On today's episode, we'll finish our 2023 NFL preview ahead of the start of the 2023 season, which is going to happen here in about 40 hours from when we're recording this episode. Day of, if you're watching it right as it's released. We'll also talk about the odd Royals season and another balk-off victory today, and
formula.
But we'll start today's episode with some college football news after the first week of the season. Some interesting stories from the first week. Mike, what do you think was the most interesting of this set of college football news from this last week? Colorado's victory over national title contender TCU from last season. Deion Sanders is the coach, new coach there. Some kind of big SEC schools, SEC and ACC schools, I guess, dropping games like LSU, Clemson, both took losses. Or maybe that the pollsters may have gotten the seedings fairly right. I think 21 of the seeds of the top 25 actually won their games. Or is it something else like the continuing decimation of the Pac-12? What did you find most interesting from this last week?
I think the realignment was interesting, and that kind of because the ACC added more teams that are nowhere near the AC, the Atlantic Coast. They added when the
PC.
Yeah, we have a team from Texas, SM. Originally was part of the old Southwest Conference, but it was TCU that ended up getting invited to the Big 12 and not SMU. And then also Cal, Berkeley, and Stanford both joined the ACC. So the ACC, I think, they added 3 teams. I think they were up to 18 or 7, maybe 17 if you don't include Notre Dame, I think ACC was also, there were rumors that maybe Clemson and Florida State were going to possibly leave and maybe seek to join the SEC or even Big 12 or probably not Big 10, I would guess. Academically, they don't really fit that well, but who knows?
So you think they're just hedging just to add enough so that if they lose some, they won't be down?
Yeah. But these other teams these other teams that came in, they also came in with like decreased revenue. They didn't get an equal share, and so I think because Florida State, I think Clemson would kind of go along with Florida State, but Florida State was really upset about the revenue sharing model. Like, Wake Forest gets as much as Florida State, or places that don't do or have the clout or the pull as Florida State. But I think related to that, we have those two teams, Clemson and Florida State, both in interesting matchups over the weekend. Florida State, you mentioned LSU lost, but it was Florida State who beat LSU pretty badly, and Florida State was fairly highly ranked, but LSU was number 4. I think Florida State was number 8 or something. And
they're top 10 teams playing each other.
Top 10 teams, yeah.
One of them is going to lose, so
45-24. But it seemed like it was, is this, maybe Florida State coming back to be the old Florida State that we knew as, younger kids? Like, I think with Jameis Winston, I think they won the national title like 2014 or something. But that was kind of a blip. They like, since Bobby Bowden left, they've just been kind of a little like Nebraska, but a little more successful, but still kind of Nebraska-like. The kind of once great 90s team, not as good anymore, 80s and 90s. But and then also I think Clemson.
Offhand, who is Florida State's coach now?
Is it still Jimbo?
Is it? I'm not even sure.
I forgot.
I'll look it up. You can
keep pontificating. Mike Norvell is the coach.
Oh, Mike Norvell. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. He coached at Memphis. He was the Memphis coach. Okay. What happened to Jimbo? He might have been 2 coaches ago. I don't remember. Yeah. He was he's Texas A&M's coach now. He's Texas A&M's coach. He was at Florida State. Now he's Texas A&M. Yeah, I knew that. Anyway. But Yeah, so
That was 5 years ago. Maybe started.
yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Now, I don't pay attention that much to the Florida State.
Coach,
See, that's
yeah, I
that's
haven't followed college
yeah.
football as much as in the years past, but now I guess I've been more into the NFL lately. Maybe
Yeah.
because the Chiefs have been really good. So like basically 2018 was when the Chiefs started being really, really good. So maybe we've lost some interest in Saturday football for Sunday, but um going back. So yeah, so but Clemson lost to Duke as well in the kind of bizarre game, but they got blown out on the scoreboard 28-7. And it was, Duke is not known for their football ability. Usually they're just a basketball school, and but they beat Clemson, the highly ranked, highly touted, very successful program. So I thought that ACC stuff was interesting. I know. I have an idea. Maybe what you found the most interesting story of the college football weekend.
I thought it was the coach Deion Sanders then, like completely overhauling the Buffalo's roster. I think he brought in something like 86 new players, more or less. I mean, he's brought in to make changes, and he certainly did. And then his son ended up leading the team to on the way to the setting the team record for passing yardage in a game, even so. With an exciting win over TCU. I think they were expected to lose by 3 touchdowns, and they didn't just cover the spread, but they won the game though. Mike, that isn't enough to impress you?
I guess it is, but it was a shootout game. It could have gone either way. So
Yeah.
like it wasn't like a dominant win, and it's the first game of the season. But I did think Colorado I guess they look pretty good, and I don't know how great a coach Deion is. He's a very good recruiter, but in college football, you don't really have to be a super kind of X's and O's guy. You're just more of a recruiter and motivator, I think. And if you have better talent than the other team, it doesn't really matter what you do. Although I think,
but if you can pull 86 players from other places,
yeah, I thought there were only like 85 scholarships that are allowed, so they got more. So
more
like
players than scholarships, even.
And I guess some of them were walk-ons, but like
Maybe
I
we're
don't know how many stayed, but like that seems like people transfer a lot more than they used to. But it seems I find it a little bit unseemly when because there's still this idea that they are quote student athletes, and if you kind of force somebody who's already on the football team to like not only maybe be benched for somebody new, but also kick them completely off the team.
Yeah.
I don't really like that. So
I don't know if you like kick them off, or you just encouraged everyone to enter the transfer portal and find another place. It could have been.
Yeah, I think it was.
Still.
I think he tried to revoke scholarships.
Well, that's kind of shady, but
and that's why Deion was a very good player. I was never a huge Deion fan, however, but
he was another two-way guy though. He played baseball and
football. Yeah, he was not. I would say he was neither. When healthy, he was neither as good at baseball or at football than Bo Jackson.
Yeah, but
even though Deion was like a.
That's got to be impressive that he actually was able to do it though.
Yeah, but that's good. It's like he was a decent baseball player, but he was a really good football player.
No.
I think but I think Bo Jackson was uniquely kind of out of this world
at
both. And yeah, so that's what I know. Deion was a great returner and great corner, but I don't he was more of a talker, and that's partly why he was so prominent. And like Jackson, like he had the Bono's commercials, but he never said anything at all in a sort of self-promotional way. Really, he was very quiet and understated, as he was. And so I think Deion became more known, even though he was a great player. But I don't know if he was any better than Charles Woodson or somebody like that as a cornerback. Or Rod Woodson or I don't know. Should we look at the NFL Hall of Fame monitor
Oh yeah.
for Deion Sanders?
I have no clue where this is gonna fall.
Okay, we might be completely wrong.
I'm gonna guess not super high. I don't know.
I'm gonna look at his baseball stats too, because we can see how many WAR he
Yeah.
had over his career. Mike.
I mean, I can look at baseball if you want to look at football.
Ooh, baseball. I'm looking at baseball right now because I was accidentally on Baseball Reference when I entered the name. I thought I was on Football Reference.
Okay.
Deion has a career 5.5 WAR player, playing for from 1989 all the way to 2001. He never played more than 97 games.
115 games in 97.
115 and okay. 115 games. Okay.
But his season was always abbreviated because his football was the priority. So he would leave the baseball team when the football season started, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Bo Jackson had.
So I don't know. He didn't really have much of any playoff appearance.
Yeah. Bo Jackson knows 8.3 WAR. Wins above replacement from 86 to 94. He played 694 games. Deion played
570. No, 641.
641. So almost the same number of games. So and a lot of those Bo ones were after he injured his hip.
How many home runs did Bo Jackson hit?
Maybe 100.
Oh, I think you saw it open. Yeah.
Oh, 141. It was more than I thought. 141.
39 for Deion.
Okay. Stolen bases, 82 for Bo.
186 for
Okay.
Deion.
Bo's just dropped off completely after his injury. He had 32 home runs and 32 home runs and 26 stolen bases in 1989. And then 1990 was the season he started out and then got hurt, had 28 and 15 when he went down. So, and then he played for the White Sox and had 3 stolen bases over 3 seasons.
No.
So, football, again, I think longevity, especially, is going to. You guys, Bo might not even have anything in the Hall of Fame monitor, but Deion Sanders played from 1989 to 2005 in football, so he had 17 seasons, and he's going to be ranked very, very highly because he was a really good player. But he played on some very notable teams especially once he left Atlanta, when he played for Dallas and San Francisco and won, I think, 3 straight Super Bowls. He is second among defensive backs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame monitor. So that's pretty good. He is behind Rod Woodson. So that's
okay.
I guess ahead of Ronnie Lott.
He is in the Hall of Fame?
Deion, yeah. Oh, he's got 2 championships. I guess he won one with the Cowboys. He wasn't on the Cowboys at the beginning. He won the Cowboys 3rd in 4 years, and then he had won the San Francisco one in between, I guess. And yeah, Deion just behind Rod Woodson. Okay, same number of seasons. I think is his punt return numbers were also good. He had, so in terms of interceptions, he had 53 interceptions in his career. And that's 18 less than Rod Woodson, 10 less than Ronnie Lott, 11 less than Ed Reed. But Ed Reed and Lott mostly played safety, and Woodson played safety towards the end of his career. But he does have a lot. Charles Woodson is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was thinking him, Darrelle Revis, Champ Bailey, those guys. So I guess, yeah, maybe I'm underestimating Deion a little bit, maybe because I'm just turned off by his flash. He's not as, I don't know. I just don't. And because maybe I'm from Kansas City, so I like Bo Jackson.
Yes, that's fair.
And Bo's what might have been kind of person.
Yeah. Then also just to maybe recap that into that last segment about the ACC. How many schools are left in the Pac-12 now?
It is two. It's the Pac-2. It's Oregon State and Washington State.
Yes. You think they're going to continue like that, or are they going to try to bring new schools in? Or what do you do if you're the Pac-12? What do you do? Just fold it up, or what? What do you think?
I think most likely it's probably going to be a merge with the Mountain West, the two.
Just
And
elevate the Mountain West. Would be
yeah, and I don't or you might
Pac-12.
even say the Mountain West might call itself the Pac whatever.
I assume they're going to want to get rid of the management of the Pac-12 because that's what sort of led to this dissolution of the conference.
Yeah, because you can still call it the Pac-12 or Pac whatever. It looks like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 schools in at least
Mountain
full
West?
time in the Mountain West.
Does that include anybody that's leaving already? Is that for this season, or is that
It's for this season right now, so it doesn't include BYU or TCU or
okay.
Utah. I guess they all left a while ago, but yeah, because BYU became independent about 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that even so.
Independent in football. It was in the West Coast Conference of basketball with Gonzaga and I think it was mainly because the West Coast Conference, all of their teams, it's a basketball only conference basically, but all of the teams are religious schools. So Gonzaga's Catholic. There's
like what the Big East was.
Yeah, it's like the Western Big East, and Big East still is mostly mostly Catholic. Butler
became.
Yeah, what do you say?
Became maybe because it used to be.
Yeah, became UConn though was always in it. Syracuse was originally they weren't those are both public schools, but yeah, when they expanded, they got Creighton and Dayton, both Catholic, both ranked institutions. DePaul joined. Butler, I think, is Presbyterian, maybe, but Lutheran, maybe. It's not. I can look it up, but it's not. It's like the one non-Catholic because when Xavier was added, that's obviously Jesuit school Catholic, but
what is it? St. John's, I think, is there too, right?
Yeah, St. John's, Seton Hall, Catholic, Georgetown, of course. Yeah. The school became let's see, it's I think it's independent now. Butler is. It was founded by the Disciples of Christ Christian Church, but it was never controlled by that church. It says so. I guess it is a non-sectarian, technically, institution, but Christian founded. So, but yeah, in the West Coast Conference, it's Gonzaga, Loyola Marymount, Catholic, St. Mary's, Santa Clara, U San Diego, U San Francisco are all Catholic. University of Portland also Catholic, and then a couple of University of Pacific is Methodist, and Pepperdine is Churches of Christ or Church of Christ, which is a little different, but anyway,
it's something.
It's something, yeah. It's in Malibu. It's got a very pretty campus, so they had a good baseball team usually. So anyway, that's what BYU. I guess that's why BYU sort of left the Mountain West, because it was more secular. But joining the Big 12, I think, is just a money thing, because most of those institutions are also non-sectarian, other than BYU and TCU. I think they're all public. Unless I'm forgetting somebody. Baylor is also religious. So, but anyway, we're trailing off here. Do we want to transfer? Since speaking of trailing off, should we transfer over to the Royals, who, at least briefly, it seemed like this week had the worst record in the majors, even though they actually, by their standards, have had a pretty good week. I think they were 3-3,
3-3 since our
500 this
last
week.
episode.
Yeah. So
After tonight's victory.
yes, after
Tuesday
tonight's
night
victory,
Yes.
Tuesday night victory, another what they're calling a bulk off win. 2 out of their last 12 wins that have been balk off victories. They won early, I think August 1st against the Mets in extra innings on a walk-off balk. And then tonight they also won on a bases loaded walk-off balk. Is this the new formula for success for Royals?
It does seem to be. I don't know what else they can really do. It's either they score 12 or 13 runs, or they win with just by having a runner on base, and the other team makes a mistake. That's
Yeah, it was a
few of the ways to win, I guess.
it was a big comeback victory for the Royals this weekend. They now have actually been officially eliminated from the playoffs. For the last few weeks, they've been holding on ESPN less than 0.1% possibility. But they and the Oakland A's are both have E's next to their name. They're the only two teams in the majors who have E's next to their name. But now the Royals are one full game ahead of Oakland. They are 44-96. Oakland is 42-96 as of this recording. So
very moment, yes.
2 wins in hand for the Royals.
I believe Oakland is in the 7th inning right now of a game, so that they could be half game closer or further away.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Oakland's 0-0, but
Toronto has bases loaded.
Toronto has the bases loaded, so maybe it's going to be a Toronto win. But the Royals have been losing to Oakland when they've been playing, so maybe they are the worst team between the two. But I guess things have been getting better lately for both of those teams. They've improved their winning percentages. Each of them are above 300 now, where they were hovering in the 200s for much of this season.
I think neither team can be the worst team ever at this point. I think they've both won their 43rd game. So
Oakland is 142. So
they can only equal the worst record, I believe.
Yeah, the Mets 62
Mets is the most.
Yeah.
In a 162 game season.
Yeah, it was the 62 Mets, this expansion year, 42 and 120, I believe. And the Detroit Tigers a couple of times kind of approached that in recent years, maybe recent being the last 25 years. But but yeah, so it seems like the Royals, I don't know, they're having a historically bad year, but there's another team having a historically bad year too. So maybe they don't quite
having a historically worse year, I guess. Is that a phrase? I don't know if I've ever heard that before. historically bad, but historically worse.
Yeah. The Rockies are maybe falling and maybe even approaching historically bad as well. They are 50-87. So the Royals are only
like 7 or 8 games back.
Yeah. So it's still I guess anybody's game, but it seems like the Royals are firmly entrenched in one of the top 3 positions, leaving them an equal opportunity to get the number 1 overall draft pick. And maybe as we get closer to the draft next year, we can prognosticate and think about who they're going to get. It would be a more fun discussion than this year when they're like number 8, and usually it's the top 1, 2, or 3 that are actually people know who they are coming in. But
sometimes you get a top 10 pick and then you spend it on a guy that's not in the top 10.
Or you could get Bobby Witt Jr. at number 2, like the Royals did.
I think he was ranked pretty high, though. I don't think he was.
I think he was the consensus number 2 pick.
That's like drafting equal to your status, not drafting like a team that won more games.
It was Adley Rutschman, the catcher for the Orioles.
All-star catcher for Baltimore.
Yeah. Yes, but this year, Rutschman has been worth 3.3 wins above replacement. How many has Bobby Witt been worth?
Probably pretty close.
4.1. So Witt has had a better season.
Slightly higher even. Wow.
The Witt has a 5.0 career WAR, but 4.1 of them is this season. Rushman has 8.5 career, 3.3 this season. So he's been. This is also only his second season. He has played more games this year, more home runs, more RBIs, slightly lower on base plus slugging percentage, but pretty much identical. And in terms of rate, probably about the same. But I guess maybe his defense was a little worse this year, maybe to see why he doesn't have as many wins above replacement. But I'm not exactly sure. He had 1.5 worth D WAR, 4.3 O WAR. It says this year it's 3.5 and 0.2. So he's basically just been a replacement level defender. I don't know. Again, I don't know how they do it for catchers. Is it just pitch framing? And that's one of the, I think Sal has been dinged kind of unfairly because it's just a flaw in the system of bad calls that umpires make, and who is better at either forcing an umpire into a bad call or switching them from a bad call into a good call. And
I'd heard earlier this season that one of the changes that the team had made was like asking the catchers to just be physically closer to the plate slightly, and they said that at the early point in the season that the pitch framing numbers were almost in line with league average for the Royals catchers who had been way below average before, and so maybe just being slightly closer was enough to trick the umpires into getting more calls. Yes, I don't know.
Is this an advancement from analytics, or is it an advancement from observation from like coaches and scouts? Do you think that change?
I think it just points out a flaw in the umpiring. I don't think it really has anything to do with the analytics. It was just
they just want to scoot closer to the plate, risk maybe being hit by a swing.
Because that has happened more often this season than had happened previously, is that they get more catcher interference calls then too.
Yeah, catcher interference, also maybe bat hitting you in the head or something. That's not fun either. So you might lead to more injuries for catchers. But if it leads to more wins, I don't know. Yeah, maybe also. I guess this year it's been a lot more Fermin, in the behind the plate. Salvi has been catching some, but he's been first base DH a lot, especially as they move Melendez to left field to continue that experiment. We were both confused about the lineup tonight because Eduardo Olivares, he is normally a left fielder.
But just to say real quick, it's more uncommon for us to be not confused by the Royals lineup. Is that the way?
Edward, yeah, I guess he's Edward Olivares.
Edward.
He is not an Eduardo. I'm sorry, Edward. Even though he's Venezuelan, he was an Edward, and not an Eduardo.
Yes.
I knew they called him Edward, but I thought maybe they were shortening it. But no, it actually is
Edward. Yes.
Because American names are cool in certain parts of South America and other places. Yeah. And I guess we might. Yeah. Anyway, Edward Olivares. He is normally a left fielder or outfielder, and he was DH tonight. He's not as good a hitter, at least theoretically, as Melendez. But Melendez is in left field, and Melendez theoretically and actually is a much worse fielder than Olivares, and
much worse.
Why put? I guess, are they still just trying to think that he is going to be a decent fielder, or they just don't want to maybe make him a full-time DH at this young stage of his career?
I don't know. I think this is a wasted year in development for him and other players on the team because they've used him in the outfield instead of just sending him to AAA to work on hitting maybe while he's also working on outfielding, because this is an experiment that we didn't need to watch.
Yeah, like what Alex Gordon did
Yeah.
when he was switching from third base to left field.
Yeah.
He went to Omaha famously and became a kind of otherworldly left fielder. He was a decent third baseman defensively, but became fantastic. Multiple. And
Oh, but you
I
froze
think
for a
you're
second.
frozen up. Are
Yeah.
you back?
I'm back. I don't know. Are you back? Yeah.
Froze me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my internet
Yeah.
connection stable now.
But
But
Alex Gordon, multiple time Gold
Gold
Glove
Glove voter. Yeah,
left
we can
fielder. Yes.
we
Yeah.
can you want to edit that part or
Yeah, it's
do
fine.
something.
Yeah, I don't think we really miss anything.
This way you get to really see how the sausage is made if you're
Yes.
listening or watching the warning track.
It's
Power.
one of the things that just happens with this kind of technology. Being in two different cities, sometimes that happens, right?
Yeah, I blame society.
Yes.
For that.
But also laud society for allowing this to be possible. Is that
I guess so. It's like this is a small kind of upgrade. Like in most of our other life, I think things are worse because we're working. This is just another way to tie us to being at work wherever we are, like a cell phone or something like that, which it does, I guess, aid in communication, but it also leads to more kind of personal isolation and like petty jealousy of people online and political polarization and all these things. I think when you give the everyman a voice, that's not always a good thing. Theoretically, maybe it is, but in
so that's
if you're
what we're
not,
saying here is that we shouldn't be giving the everyman the voice. So why are we doing the show? We're the
yeah.
everyman. We're not the everyman. Or are we the
Well,
everyman?
I think we know better than everybody else, and that's what we're trying to say. At least that's what I'm trying to say. If I ever did whatever I wanted, I think things would be a lot better. Most people probably think that way too, but maybe it would be better if any one person was in charge than a collective.
Hmm.
Maybe on it. I don't know. Not if any one person. We've had that problem in politics.
Is this your plea for a dictatorship and
Yeah, yeah. Well,
organization?
my plea is for the enlightened despot to lead us, the absolute monarchy, but the enlightened absolute monarchy, the
Hmm.
one that I think Voltaire advocated for over democracy, because democracy is less. It takes longer and you can't get stuff done. But if you have like a ideal philosopher king, that would be the right things would be getting done more quickly. And anyway, I don't know. I don't think the Royals certainly do not have an enlightened philosopher king sitting on the bench in their dugout. Has Mac Potrero, does he deserve to be brought back another year? Do you think will he be brought back another year no matter what happens?
I think he's probably got multiple years, no matter what. I think he's been pretty terrible, but just in how the lineups are set, the usage of the bullpen, it's the same nonsense as we saw with the previous two managers who were both terrible at doing those two things.
Is
Also,
maybe just something in the water at Kauffman Stadium? Maybe moving the stadium will help because of a different environment, different.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it seems like they're now we're getting into September, so we're starting to see even more call ups than maybe we can find a few other players that are worth keeping around. Like Nick Lofton seems to
Yeah,
be.
he's had a great start. Yeah,
He's played in 4 games, all at different positions in the field, but I think he has hits in all 4 games. Which
yeah, yeah. Nick Lofton has been. You think he's
462 batting average through 4 games.
462? Yeah, he was. He is. You think he is a lot like Nicky Lopez? Maybe it's the Nick.
Oh,
Well, since Nicky Lopez went to Atlanta, I mean,
yes. Oh,
in
yes. Yeah.
in the terms of his hot start,
Yes.
it's not,
Yes.
it's not quite as scorching as Nicky Lopez's start, but
Yeah.
I don't think is he um Lofton. Yeah, he's batting 462. He was 1 for 3 with a walk
Tonight. Yeah.
tonight, and
I think he was 2 for 3 in his debut. I think he's got like 3 doubles already.
Yes.
Pretty decent. Like in his, I think he's got 6 hits in 4 games. I think
Yes.
that's
Six,
pretty good.
6 for 13, 3 walks. Yeah, he's batting 462. His on base percentage is 563.
Not
His
bad.
slugging is 692. He's been a 1.255 OPS. He's already been worth 0.3 WAR in
4 games.
4 games. So that would translate to like a 15 or 12 WAR season if he played every game. And I think if he batted that high, he'd have to be much higher than just 0.3, higher than 12 or 15. If somebody batted 462
Yeah.
and had a 1255, like, and they weren't like Barry Bonds in the field, they would probably be, I don't know. Bonds had OPSs like that high, but
It was funny as I was just looking at Bond's OPSs the other day, or his his on base percentages.
yeah.
There was one season that he led the league with like a 410 on base percentage, and then it was like 10 years later he led the league with like a 607 on base percentage. It's
Yeah,
like
609. It was
points.
609 in 2004.
609. I said
He
607.
batted 362 with a 609 on base percentage,
Yeah.
812 slugging for a 1.422 OPS. His OPS plus was 263 that year.
So yeah, wasn't it like 12 years earlier that he led the league was like a 410 OPS as a league leader, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 410 on base percentage in 1991.
On base percentage, yeah. Sorry.
He also led the league in OPS at 924.
Yeah. But just it just seems so funny that like two different seasons from the same guy, you can be that different.
Yeah.
But both league leaders, right?
Even the next year, his on base percentage went up to 456 and then 458. He never had an on in 1999 he had he never had an on base percentage lower than 410 the rest of his he had one in 2005 where he only played 14 games, was 404 on base percentage. He got hurt, I guess. But yeah, his OPS for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. 15 out of his last 16 seasons was above 1,000. And the one season that wasn't was 0.999.
Slacker.
Yeah, that was his second to last season when he was 41. But then he had so that's incredible. But he won he won 7 MVPs. Like, he is like a big jerk and a big roid user, but everybody was, but he somehow became so much better than anybody else. Like walking, I don't think is a skill that really steroids was, but people didn't want to pitch to him because he was so good. So I think people pitched around him a lot. But I don't know. I think having him not in the Hall of Fame is kind of silly, especially when they like are just like electing, Scott Rowland types who were just like pretty good players for a while, rather than like transcendent players. I don't know. It just it doesn't sit that well with me. But anyway, the Royals maybe have one transcendent player. It seems like, and that's Bobby Witt Jr. We talked about him. Do you think he will continue to improve, or is he kind of probably where he's going to be?
I think he's still on the way up. I think it would help if they could get some more talent around him too, to maybe protect him a bit in the lineup would be nice, or allow him to protect someone in the lineup after he gets established a little bit too. I think
Garcia
the lineup is finally solidified a little bit by having Michael Garcia kind of claim that number 1 spot in the lineup, and that's certainly helped.
Yeah, and Melendez has not made the jump that people thought. Perez is still pretty good, but he's on the downslope of his career. So it's,
and he's kind of a wild swinger though too.
Yeah,
so he's not necessarily somebody that they're afraid to pitch to because they don't necessarily have to throw him strikes to get him out, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So having another solid guy like Bobby Witt behind Bobby Witt would be probably best for the team. And there are a couple of guys that they'd picked up, I think, along the way that have looked promising. This Nelson Velasquez had shown really good power in his first couple of weeks here with the Royals. I think he's got 7 or 8 home runs now with KC.
Yeah, he's been great.
And on the mound, the Cole Reagans has been fantastic though too. So it seems like things are like there are players that look like you would be willing to build a franchise around. I don't know how much the Royals, will recognize this though too. That's where it gets challenging because the team has not shown an ability to recognize talent even after they've been shown it.
Yeah, I guess with Reagan's, like it's hard to you can't really. Well, it seems like the Royals actually turned his potential talent into actual results. Could just be a blip too, but he has a 21 inning scoreless streak, which is the longest in the majors. He was pitcher of the month for the American League. That's pretty good, especially for a team for being on a team like the Royals, where they provide basically 0 run support usually. And Velasquez has been kind of again, it's a small sample size, but it's somewhat of a revelation. His batting average is pretty low, but his slugging has been really good. So but
he's at least a threat in the lineup, which is something that they have not really shown a whole lot of from several players for a lot of the season, at least anyway.
They haven't.
Or basically just riding out this last month.
We're really looking forward to 2 days from now when we're recording, or today if you're actually listening to us on the Thursday release date of our podcast or channel. This is opening day, and it's only opening day for the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions, because the Chiefs get the prime slot on Thursday, because that's been the tradition over the last several years, is that the reigning champions get the opening Thursday night. 3 years ago, they had the opening Thursday night slot as well when they beat the Houston Texans, led by a then not yet disgraced Deshaun Watson, and they debuted what we thought was a very exciting player, first round draft pick out of LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whose career probably peaked in that first game. That was probably his best game as a Chief. He showed both like his potential, but also kind of his liability. I think he tried there were like 4 consecutive times he tried to run in from the 1 yard line and didn't make it or something like that. But it was a big win for the Chiefs in their unsuccessful Super Bowl defense, since they lost that year. But I think that was a fun night. Do you remember that game 3 years ago?
Sort of, but not like in vivid detail.
That was anyway, it seemed they had a kind of a difficult year that year because of injuries and thanks to Mahomes, but at least the offensive line, I guess, and then Mahomes got hurt in the playoffs. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as Jim Nantz likes to say, but he is right now, it seems like, the third running back, or at least the backup running back to 2 kind of positions. He's probably the backup regular running back and the backup third down back, behind Pacheco. It seems like he's going to play behind McKinnon, who hasn't been hurt. So do you think the running backs are going to have to be relied on more tonight on Thursday night without possibly this might change in a couple of days. We don't know yet whether Travis Kelce is going to play or not. He apparently hyperextended his knee on Tuesday in practice, and there's questions whether or not he's going to appear. And so both he and Chris Jones, who's already going to be out, he hasn't signed his contract yet. Do you think a possible Kelce absence will change the game plan?
It's definitely going to change the game plan, but it may just be that there's going to be more passing to running backs in this game itself, because that seems to be the Chiefs' biggest threat is the passing game, but even more so when they're passing to running backs. like McKinnon, who can be really electric. With
Yeah.
either being handed the ball or being thrown the ball, both. So we may see more plays of that type, or more Noah Gray, I guess, too. Probably more passing to the running backs is my guess, at least, anyway, as to what will happen.
Yeah, maybe you'll use, like, this might be a game if Kelsey doesn't play or is limited. Maybe somebody like Justin Ross as a bigger wide receiver might end up taking some of that Kelsey role in his first
Or at least
action.
running the routes like Kelsey would run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also don't know whether Kadarius Toney is going to play, because it seems like maybe he will, but he was injured in the first day of camp. And before camp, he was touted really as he's going to be the number one receiver. He's like Tyreek Hill in a lot of ways, but he's been injury prone. So, who knows? I think. Do you think the absence of if Kelsey and Chris Jones are both absent, which is a bigger problem for the Chiefs, do you think?
Probably Chris Jones, I would guess, just because he's like right in the center of the defense, and so much of the play happens right in front of the quarterback, the opposing quarterback. So I think he could be more of an absence felt, I think, on the team.
Yeah,
I don't think Kelsey would be. It will be noticeable that he's not there, but I think the team can probably work around him more than they can work around having the center of the defense present, I would guess.
Yeah, it's hard to say too. It's one of those things where we will really only know if both of them end up being out. We know Chris Jones is out because he hasn't signed the contract, so he's not going to play. Yeah, at least first game. But if Kelsey and Jones are both out, well, maybe it won't matter because the Chiefs will run up the score and score a bunch of points, or maybe it won't matter because the defense will somehow rise to the occasion because their pass defense is maybe their strength, and so I don't know. I guess I think that Kelsey is probably a bigger deal because we don't know what Mahomes is like without Kelsey, because Kelsey has been remarkably healthy.
Yeah.
With at least since he was injured at the very beginning of his career, but he's only missed a couple of games in the later parts of over the last few years, and I think at least probably a majority of those were the last game of the season, where it really didn't matter what the Chiefs did because they were winning their division. So we don't, like, with Tyreek Hill, we had some stats like with how Mahomes did without Tyreek even before he left, and they did all right, but we don't have any stats without Kelsey. And I guess we have stats without Chris Jones somewhat because he's been limited a little bit and they've been okay, but I think Jones has an even bigger role on the defense now than he did a couple of years ago. So yeah,
would you call it relatively similar then to the Jordan Pippen combination from the Bulls in the 90s?
I think Jordan is Mahomes though, so it doesn't. Maybe Is it?
So if Mahomes doesn't have Kelsey, would that be like Jordan without Pippen?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think Mahomes. I think Kelsey might, like, if there was no Mahomes in the equation. I think if you had like if Blaine Gabbert was the quarterback, having Kelsey there would still give the Chiefs a shot at winning, I think. But I think Blaine Gabbert without Kelsey would be worse than the Chiefs defense without Jones. So I guess that way you're taking away two players, but I think it's just because, I think with Mahomes that changes. Like I was just thinking, if a league average quarterback, I would say Kelsey's more important. But I think with Mahomes there, I think maybe Jones is more important. But we don't have the data for it, so it's hard to say.
It sounded like there has been some movement though on the Chris Jones contract discussions. Like some actual numbers have been made public. They don't seem that far apart from what it sounds like. Is that? You think they're any closer to getting a deal?
I've heard different contract numbers thrown out. Like there were ones that his um agent put out there.
Hmm.
Um and there were ones that like other ones did but yeah, I so it's still somewhat close, but it's about like but really what it is a 2-year extension
Hmm.
rather than a 3-year contract. So it's like
But
we're
that's
readjusting this year. And so like and I think mainly it's about the
but
next
that's
2.
not a disagreement between the player and the team, though, right? Weren't they both?
Yeah, the length of the contract, I guess, is the same.
Okay.
Although maybe you could say maybe if the Chiefs aren't willing to give that much money, they could just add another year. And I think they're afraid of paying Chris Jones for too long. But if you don't pay him as much each year, maybe it's not as bad because you think, well, we can get that one more year out of him,
Yeah.
and maybe he'll still be good that one more year. I think he's approaching age 30.
Hmm. Yeah, he's
Um,
29 right now, I believe.
So so we are paying for age 29, age 30, and 31 seasons with a 3-year. But maybe you think, well, he might be good even at age 32 or 33. But if and maybe lower numbers, but an additional year at
Hmm.
32, because I think the idea is that, well, probably Chris Jones wouldn't command as big a contract at age 31 as he would at age 32 as he would at 29.
Hmm.
So we're gonna, you
So
know,
he's trying to get as much as he can now.
yeah. So that's what I don't think the Chiefs think that I think he's gonna fall off a cliff. So they want that short contract, and I think because they want that short contract, Jones wants more money. I don't know. So I might, if I were playing like the NFL, like some sort of game, like a video
Yeah.
game or the simulation type of thing, I would maybe try
GM
to
simulator or something like that.
lengthen the contract and give more money overall, but less money per year. And then that also spreads out the cap, even though you might say, well, we might not get anything in that last year, but at least you're getting on the field this year more
Yeah.
quickly. And
So do you think playing this next game without Chris Jones will help make the contract get done faster? Or do you think it may blow up for either of them, depending on how the game is played? So say the Chiefs defense looks great without him. What do you think will happen with the roster or the discussion of the contract? Will the team be less receptive to give more money than it would if the defense gets decimated?
I guess the idea would be that if the Chiefs defense plays well, maybe you would think that, well, the Chiefs have more leverage and they wouldn't need to give as much money to Jones, and Jones would come back more quickly because he's not going to ask for as much money since they did well. But that's only one game. The idea is also if the defense does very terribly, the Chiefs are going to say, well, please, 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 Chris Jones, come back. We'll give you whatever you want. But again, that's just one game. And it seems like to me, if you haven't signed yet, I would say he's probably going to miss 3 or 4 games at least because it takes a while. Even if he signs in the next week after the Thursday night game,
Yeah.
week 2, he might not even play week 3. So
He may not even be in the locker room until week 2 anyway, like
yeah,
depending on how the deal gets done. If it
yeah,
was signed almost immediately. Even if they signed it before the Thursday game, he still may not be with the team until the following week, let alone starting to get up to speed.
yeah. He knows the system and things like that. But like, and he seems like he's staying in shape somewhat, but it's hard to it takes even players that are kind of in shape. It takes them a couple of weeks in training camp at least to get acclimated. So I think he would probably not be able to be at full strength week 4, week 5 even. So that's a third of the season almost now that we're talking about. And he had said he was willing to hold out to week 8 even
Mm-hmm.
before. So I don't. Yeah, I'm.
Yeah, see, I think the week 8 number was because that would be the difference in the contract values in how much he would sacrifice this season to get the larger deal.
I thought it was that he to get the money for his contract, he had to play at least half the season. So that's why I thought it was weak.
That
There.
I mean that probably has something to do with it. But if he's trying to make $30 million a year and he's getting 20, but he's giving up 10 to make 30,
Yeah, it's gonna.
then it's still 20, and then it's
Yeah,
still
yeah, that's
exactly
true.
the same, right? So
But I think also the longer he holds out, the more likely it is that the Chiefs are not going to give him a contract. And they're just going to let him walk,
that's the risk, and it is a big risk for.
or that they'll trade him to somebody else and just say, "Well, we'll just, rather than having him for 8 games this year, it might help us win the Super Bowl. We would rather have a first round draft pick or whatever we can get for Jones. Hope that new team that he signs, that he goes to, is going to sign him to a Tyreek Hill type of contract, and we'll get a nice haul of players, just like we did with the Hill trade."
Well, and free up the cap space to get somebody else that's maybe out there.
Yeah, you could say, well, maybe it's Carlos Dunlap again, or Melvin Ingram again, or somebody like that, or Dominican Sue, or some sort of guy walking off, off the street. Who was the I'm trying to think who the Ravens had a defensive tackle. That was and then he played for Pittsburgh. He was available. I can't remember. Chris Wormley. That's what I was thinking of. Who was a pretty good player for Baltimore. He could play kind of both inside and outside, like Jones can. But especially since they brought in Neil Farrell as the kind of the big defensive tackle, it seems like he's been all right. So anyway, I don't know, but I think, I'm getting less optimistic about the deal getting done, and it seems like without Kelsey and without Jones, the betting line has changed over the last day or two. At least the threat of being without Kelsey. Again, by Thursday, it might be just, oh, this was just overblown. Kelsey's fine, or it could mean we could see that he's actually going to be out.
Yeah, what was the line earlier?
The
Knee
extension. Yeah, the line pre information about Kelsey hurting his knee in practice was the Chiefs were favored by 6.5 points, and the most recent line that I saw now is 5 points. So it's gone down 1.5 points without, at least with the rumor that Kelsey might be out or limited. And I would say if he's a definite out, that might drop another point. But I think that's still not. I don't know. I would, if I were a betting person on the Chiefs, which I'm not going to. I would say I would wait for it and see how low it goes, and do it there, because I think maybe it'll get down to 4 points, and I think Kansas City -4 is a very good pick. Because I think the Chiefs are significantly better than the Lions, since they're at home, which usually adds 3 points to the spread. But that's not one of my picks for this week. Should we talk about our picks this week, or do we want to talk about other news around the NFL first before we talk about our?
What other news around the NFL did you find interesting?
I think the continuing Patriots quarterback saga is
cutting everybody, and then they re-signed to the practice squad.
They've got Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham both on practice squad. Malik Cunningham had actually been taking a lot of snaps at wide receiver as well, apparently, during the preseason. And then they brought in a new quarterback to be the backup or battle for starter. I'm not really sure what they want. And that is Matt Corral, who we talked about earlier. Matt Corral had been at Carolina, but he was the 3rd-round draft pick last year from Ole Miss. And he was kind of let go because they brought in Bryce Young and Andy Dalton and they had, their 2 quarterbacks that they wanted. And I guess they didn't want to keep 3 on the roster, so they didn't keep Corral. And the Patriots picked him up as the second quarterback on their roster, and he was actually picked by the Panthers, that a pick that was a trade from the Patriots to the Panthers. So maybe the Patriots had looked at him and were kind of interested in him. Instead, they drafted a 4th-round draft pick that same year in Bailey Zappi. So, or is a 5th-round draft pick for Bailey Zappi? I can't quite remember, but it's in my notes. Yeah, so they took Bailey Zappi as a kind of backup measure. He was a 4th-round pick that's in 2022. So I guess as a sort of safety valve, maybe if they thought they were going to take Corral, or maybe they just didn't like Corral as much and they took babies. Who knows?
Yeah.
And it seems odd that if you I don't know. It just seems odd that you have a guy in the system that's probably as good as the guy you're bringing in, you think, but I don't know. Maybe who knows? I don't know what's going on in New England.
It was probably more surprising that you'd bring a guy in from outside to be the number 2, the number 1 backup in the case of a guy who's already shown that he's not been that reliable at quarterback already. He's been replaced a couple of times, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you bring a guy from outside the system to back him up, even though you have 2 guys that you've already worked out for several weeks, one for at least, a couple seasons that he's been under this.
Maybe it's just that you want a young quarterback and you want as many young quarterbacks as possible to compete for the job. Or maybe it's that, well, we really want to make Mac Jones feel secure and that he's going to be but I think if you want that, you would just bring in an old, Brian Hoyer kind of crap quarterback that is like a long time back, like a Blaine Gabbert. You bring in a long time backup who's not very good, but
a veteran,
a veteran. Chad Henne or or Matt Moore, that kind of quarterback who's proven that he's not really a great starter, but if he's got a great team around him, he can get a couple of wins for you if you need it. But
at least hold down the fort until the starter.
Yeah, like Andy Dalton. That's why they brought in Andy Dalton to Carolina. Although maybe Andy Dalton still sees himself as a possible starting quarterback. I think he might be a better quarterback this year than Chase
Bryce Young,
right? Bryce Young, not Chase Young. Bryce Young, yeah. I couldn't get his name out of my head. With the pocket passer, as I call him, because he fit in your pocket because he is tiny, like Kyler Murray, tiny, who has been, whose team has an interesting quarterback dilemma because Murray, we don't even know if he's going to come back. It seems like the Cardinals are tanking. They brought in Joshua Dobbs last week, and it seems like he's probably going to be the starter, or it's going to be 5th-round draft pick Clayton Tune is going to be the starter. But either way, it seems like, well, those players aren't going to win. They're going to tank, probably lose as many games as possible, and pick, it seems like at this part, Caleb Williams from USC to be Kyler Murray's successor. And is that what they want? They're already spending $50 million a year, or it will be $50 million a year on Kyler Murray.
Because they just extended his contract.
Yeah, is anybody gonna take? Can you get rid of him, or are you just gonna have a expensive, just a malcontent of a backup? Or are you gonna cut him and owe him just all this money and just cripple your cap? It doesn't. I don't know. I guess what didn't make sense was giving Murray all that money, probably when he, I think, showed that he was not. Maybe the answer he's small, so he's injury prone. He also doesn't seem to be terribly reliable as a kind of student of the game. Unless that game is Call of Duty, then he is a reliable student of that game. But of NFL football, I think maybe if he was playing Madden or something like that a lot, would that have been as big of a red flag? Do you think? Do you think if he was playing video football games? Do you think that would be?
I think it's the same thing. Yeah, I don't.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's time spent. I mean, most organizations want all of the people that work for them to spend all of their time working on that organization, whether or not they're contractually obligated to do so or not.
So is it an engineer, like a railroad engineer, spending all of his time playing Railroad Tycoon or something like that. Is that something that you would want or would not? I guess you would not want because it's not. That'll be you're playing. You're playing a simulated version of what you're really
actual job.
are. Which like if you're an accountant, you play like this account, like which was kind of like what I think people do a lot. If they, I don't know if any architects or city planners play like SimCity or these other.
I hope so. That's probably
that's probably where they were. Well, the idea was that Herman Cain, when he did his tax plan, Herman Cain's tax plan was the 999 plan, and that was supposedly the tax rates that were set at 9% on SimCity as the default setting.
That's
so
funny.
some people said he perhaps lifted it from there, but the late Herman Cain, he had COVID that I think he caught at a Trump rally probably, and he died. So that was sad. I like Godfather's Pizza, but I miss that kind of being out here. Do you still eat? Have you eaten a Godfather's lately?
No, it's been years since I've been to a Godfather's. The one that I used to go to as a kid is still, I think it's still there, but
The one on
moved to a
Antioch.
slightly different place. But
There's the one on
down
Antioch
the
Road.
road just a bit, yeah, something like that.
It's still there across from Old Antioch Mall. There was also that 72nd and North Oak location, which is no longer there. Those are the two that we went to. They were kind of equal distance from our house. If you want to go over to, it's like, do we want to go up Vivian and over to Antioch Road, or just up North Oak a little bit farther north, but not as far east? But
yeah.
Anyway, so I like Godfathers. They had a buffet that was kind of good, and
The buffet was great.
And there was a lot of I think they made the pizzas kind of extra saucy, which I enjoyed. Like,
yes.
But anyway, what from Godfather's Pizza to, I don't know, how do we segue this into our NFL picks? So are we let's see if we can become the godfathers of prognostication, and
there we go. That works.
The betting lines. We last year on this program, we each made 3 picks a week, and we ended up being about 50-50 in our a pick. So technically we didn't lose money, at least if all bets were equal, but because of the way Vegas works and that they want to make money, they make if you bet $100, you aren't necessarily going to win $100. You need to bet $110 usually to win $100 on the NFL spreads or the over under picks. So they get money even if so money that more than evens out, even if everybody's equal. So you need to be about 54%, I think, correct to make a profit. And
we were not. We were slightly
under.
But we didn't lose everything of our fake money that we used for our fake betting. But we didn't come out ahead. We were even.
It's basically like, it's kind of like, you lose money if you go to the game because you're buying the ticket and buying the hot dog or whatever beer. You're losing, like, it's been still entertaining you, but you're we don't really consider that a loss. Like if you
right.
you pay, like I paid $100 for my ticket.
Cost of entertainment. What are you willing to spend to be entertained?
And this is similar, I think, to that. At least if you're not a terrible gambler, it only cost us $20 a week probably at most, even with the juice added. So,
but now we have a year of experience behind us.
Yes,
we better be better this season than last. Is that
yes? And we're becoming a little more scientific than we were last year, even in that we will still make our 3 bets a week, picking from this week's games, either through the point spread or the over under, but we are also going to make picks that we won't reveal on here, but we might talk about the week after, picks on all of the games. So we'll pick over under and point spread picks against the spread, against the against the spread picks on every game, and I think also we're going to pick winners too. So if this would be kind of corresponding to the money line, although probably most of our winners are going to be favorites, and you wouldn't, they wouldn't be like a 50-50 chance, but we'll see. Like, we could see, well, how well do we do on the just picking a winner randomly. Some newspapers and things like that just do that, and that's what kind of before gambling became a really kind of mainstream activity that wasn't just associated with mobsters and other kind of
yes,
underground bookies and kind of gambling kind of fiends and sort of unscrupulous characters, low lives, those sorts of people. Even though maybe there is a glamour as well to it, but it was a little bit seedy in the minds of most Americans. Maybe it's become a little less seedy in the public now, especially since you don't have to go to a smoky casino or in a back alley in a lot of states. You can just make a bet on your phone or on your computer, or there might be also more casinos and more because there was only I think the only casinos that you could bet on sports was in New Jersey or in
Las Vegas,
in Nevada. So now there's legal sports betting in Kansas, not Missouri yet, is there?
right? Kansas. So yeah, by location settings on your phone, if you are physically on the Kansas border side, you can bet on sports, even if you're a Missouri resident. So
yeah, okay. Where I am, Maryland just legalized it, and they also legalized recreational marijuana as well in this calendar year. So it's been a good year for that sort of thing.
get it all done at the same time.
Yeah, Pennsylvania had earlier allowed sports betting, so it's been the last few years in Pennsylvania. I live near Pennsylvania, near the border, and
Missouri now has recreational marijuana.
wow, that's
But
given
nothing.
Given Missouri's kind of conservative turn, or at least maybe not conservative traditionally, but more populist kind of Republican turn, that kind of Trumpy kind of turn. That the marijuana thing is kind of interesting.
It seems really strange, but yeah. So
Kansas,
you can buy your weed in Missouri, and then you can go to a Kansas parking lot to make your sports betting though. So you don't have to go too far.
Yeah, I guess Missouri has also always been a little bit more permissive in the kind of substances because its alcohol laws are much less strict than Kansas. And so even like the Hy-Vee on State Line Road would have its liquor department across the street in Missouri, even if the groceries were in Kansas, because I think the Kansas taxes on groceries were lower, so people would want to shop in Kansas for that. But they wouldn't want to buy the 3.2% beer that you could only buy. I don't think they make 3.2 beer anymore in Kansas. I'm not sure. I think they allow real beer and maybe even real wine to be sold at grocery stores in
But
Kansas.
that Hy-Vee on State Line still has the liquor store on the Missouri side, even today.
Yeah, because you can buy hard liquor at grocery stores in Missouri. At most gas stations in Missouri, you can, and that's somewhat unique. Because being out here in Maryland and Pennsylvania, there are a lot more stringent laws. Liquor stores weren't even open on Sundays until maybe 5 years ago since I've been here.
Yeah.
And
I remember as a kid that they would, rope off the liquor section in the Missouri grocery stores.
Yeah, on Sunday it would. Yeah, that was like 30 years ago now, probably. Yeah.
Right,
or more. So showing how old we are. But in Pennsylvania, you can buy beer at some grocery stores, I think, but mostly you have to go to a beer and wine shop, or a beer shop, or a wine and liquor shop. And I think the beer stores are mostly privately run, but the wine and liquor stores are state run, and so it's like Canada. I kind of they have mostly state run liquors. I think it's the same kind of company that does it because of the price tags. They look the same as the one in Toronto that I went to. But anyway, it's different world now. I think Pennsylvania also has, I think it's medicinal marijuana, which I don't think, does Kansas even have that?
No, they have nothing.
Kansas has been a traditionally teetotaling state. That's where Carrie Nation was from.
gambling now though? That seems probably like that should be part of that same
Yeah,
sort of
you'd think
mindset as
so. You'd
that.
think so. I don't know. Sports, like I guess maybe it's because they wanted to lure the teams over their side of the state line.
I guess, yeah.
I think, and I don't know. But about you and our picks for this week, should we just finally get to our?
Let's do it.
I know that's what everybody's really waiting for. They're saying, "Shut up about this."
No more teetotaling.
No more teetotaling. No more. Yeah, where are you also going to find a Carrie Nation reference in a warning track power hour? The lady who took the hatchets and smashed all the bottles and stuff like that. But when she crossed the border in Missouri, she got kind of thrown out and thrown in jail and stuff because Missouri was the old Democratic stronghold, but it was it was for the strong liquor because you could make a lot of money bootlegging and things like that, even during Prohibition with Tom Pendergast. But anyway, let's get to our picks. Boss Scaff, what's your first pick of the week?
So I went I think I went all favorites, all road favorites today are my pick. First up I have Philly -4 at New England.
Okay. I think, yeah, I think, well, you have the reigning NFC champs, and then probably the team that's probably picked fourth in the AFC East with a quarterback question mark, I think. I don't think Jones, maybe this is where Jalen Hurts was also kind of a question mark going into his third season. But he kind of solidified the job. And then last year he's been really, really good. But Jones has had
This
some
game of the
setbacks.
season now, probably not injured yet.
And I think traditionally also Bill Belichick treats early season sometimes like preseason, and they try things out, and they aren't always coming out on fire. The easiest maybe time to beat them is early on. So I think that could be a decent pick. I think the Eagles at one point were -4.5. So the line's gone down a little bit, so you can take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I think that makes sense to me. I'm a little worried about because you're on the road. You never know what's going to happen. But
These are week one, and as of last season, we also did not very well early on, and we made it up as the year went on.
Yeah, week one I think is the hardest because you have no prediction really of how well even like the week one results don't really reflect necessarily the entire season results. And I guess you could say every week doesn't do that either. But I think as weeks go on, you kind of know, well, what this team is like, what this team is like.
Well, this team has a great running game. This team has a bad run defense.
Yeah,
we don't know that for sure.
We don't quite know that yet, and so it's
we think we know, but we don't know anything really.
But also the preseason we proved, however, that unpredictability we can do very, very well at, because at least in that small sample size with Chiefs and overs for all the games, we would have won a significant amount of money had we actually had the chutzpah to make these bets. We could have not retired, but we could have maybe taken a week vacation with our with our winnings.
Yes.
And that was preseason, which is probably even more unpredictable than regular season, at least in theory, because we know the starters and we know who's going to play and how long. We don't know when it's not like they're going to bring in the backup quarterback in the second quarter or something like that, and then have the third stringers that we don't even know who they are battle it out. So we at least have at least what we think is the top team versus the top team that the first string versus the first string for most of the game. But yeah, Eagles Patriots. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. I only my three picks. I ended up only picking one pick with the spread in mind. I ended up picking two over unders. Since you talked about your line pick, I'll do mine as well. You picked a road favorite. I picked a slight home favorite, in mine, and this is the Bears-Packers game. Fortunately, Bears-Packers, they didn't stuff it down our throats and give it to us on Monday night or Sunday night, where they assume that everybody wants to watch the Bears-Packers, and nobody wants to watch the Bears-Packers because traditionally those teams play a pretty boring style of football, especially the Bears. At least the Packers had some star power and things like that, but they're mostly running games, defense. It's I don't know. The quarterback play on the Bears has been woefully bad over the last 30 plus years. It's been the receivers have been like there's been a little pop and wow, I think, from those teams. So it's not like I don't know, but they keep giving us those matchups. So it's actually it is the one of the 4 o'clock games, but there are actually 2 games on Fox. There's the Rams Seahawks and the Bears Packers. So it's not the only one. And there are also 3 4 o'clock games. The Eagles Patriots is one of them. Dolphins Chargers, Raiders Broncos. So we aren't going to have to watch that game unless maybe certain media markets might. So I'm happy about that. But I'm also was happy to pick the Bears there because the Bears are favored only by 1 point over the Packers. And I think we're both on the record that we think the Packers are going to be terrible this year because we don't really believe in Jordan Love. And we think the Bears are actually maybe going to be a little better because I think Justin Fields has a little bit more around him. And, maybe the defenses are kind of the same. Who cares? They aren't going to score a lot of points. I also thought about taking the under in Bears Packers. But maybe I thought, well, you never know if because it's over under 43. You never know, if it's if the Bears have a lot of big plays with Fields, like if he makes some big running plays or a couple of splash passes, or if Love does the same. So he could, it might be 28-17 would be 45 or something, or 24-20 even. So I can see it going over 43 because 43 is pretty low, but I think it'll probably be under, but I'm not as confident. But I am confident. I think the Bears are better than the Packers. Plus, they have home field advantage, so I think they should be favored probably by 3 or 4 points rather than only 1 point. So I think unproven Jordan Love, whom neither of us I think have much faith in, versus at least a dynamic kind of maybe Lamar Jackson Jr. or Jalen Hurts Jr. in Justin Fields. I like that better. So I think Bears -1 over the Packers is my first pick.
Since you were betting against Aaron Rodgers' former team, I'm going to bet against his current team. And I think I'm going to take Buffalo -2.5 at the Jets on Monday night. I think my assumption is going to be that Buffalo will come out pretty sharp. And I don't know if the Jets are going to have anything. I just don't know. But I don't think they're going to be able to compete with Buffalo.
The game is on September 11th. Do you think that will matter? You think the Jets will have, it's been 22 years now since 9/11. So do you think that's going to matter? I remember actually on the 2001 season, the Chiefs missed the playoffs barely, and the reason they missed it is because I think they kind of let the Jets win, because they played the Jets the week after 9/11, and everybody was up on everybody was like a feel-good story, and the fans were cheering for the Jets at Arrowhead and stuff like that, and so it wasn't like a hostile environment, and the Jets pulled out a victory. And I think the Chiefs missed the playoffs by 1 game that year. If I'm not, maybe that's just my memory of the Chiefs 2001 season. But I think let's see. Yeah, no, the Chiefs were 6-10 in 2001, so I was way off. They lost 27-7 against the Jets. They were 2-6 coming in, so maybe maybe my faulty memory was off. The Jets were 10-6, so they were 6-3 or 5-3 on their way into Kansas City. So they were, I guess, a better team. that year. Do you know who the Jets quarterback was in 2001?
No, I've got no idea.
He was an old quarterback,
Hmm.
almost the same age Aaron Rodgers is this year.
No, I don't know.
It was Vinny Testaverde was still the
Oh,
Jets
he was
quarterback.
still around then. Yeah.
Yeah, Vinny Testaverde played until his age 44 season for the Panthers in 2007. So he debuted in 1987. He was I think the 1986 Heisman Trophy winner from the University of Miami, and then he played for Tampa Bay several years, then Cleveland slash Baltimore when the team moved, and then he played for the Jets for 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 years, and then he played a year in Dallas. I had forgotten about his Dallas year. He was 41 and he was the starting quarterback in Dallas. Then he went back to the Jets, then to New England, and then Carolina, where he finished his career at age 44 season. So that was Vinny Testaverde. And Chad Pennington, the future Jets quarterback, was that was the last year that Testaverde was a full-time starter in New York. Pennington took over, I think, in 2002 and 3 most of the time. I don't know if I can't remember if it was because Testaverde was always getting hurt, or Pennington was always getting hurt, and Testaverde played a few games in his absence. But he was the quarterback then. Do you think so? You think that Aaron Rodgers will have less success than Josh Allen on Monday night
in that game? Yes, I don't think that the Jets will be together enough to be that competitive.
Yeah, it takes a while sometimes to and Aaron Rodgers, this is one of the times where he actually played a preseason game. He usually doesn't, but there hasn't been probably a lot of developmental time among cohesiveness developed yet among the Jets offense. So I could see, and I think Buffalo's a better team anyway. And I think if there is 9/11 stuff, the Bills were also from New York. I think the Bills will probably be, if there is like September 11th memory, but it's also like the first game back for DeMar Hamlin after his nearly life-ending injury on the field. So like there's like hype there too. So I like that pick actually, but that isn't. Sometimes when we both like it, that means it's a bad one.
Could be. We don't know.
But you don't know. Yeah.
How about your second pick?
My second pick is an over/under. It's a clash between it's a class interconference clash between two teams that I predicted actually to win their divisions this year, and that is the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints.
You didn't go to the Clash of the Titans? You didn't go straight to that?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I don't write these things ahead of time. I just kind of roll out my head. But that was the obvious one. Well done. Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
When they're marching in to New Orleans.
Titans versus Saints.
Yeah, it's not a really sexy, attractive kind of matchup, but
I didn't even watch that game.
but I think that the Titans have a good defense. I think the Saints have a pretty good defense. I think the Saints have an improved quarterback now with Derek Carr. I think also that the Titans having Tannehill back will make them much improved. And so even though they have decent defenses, I think they have offenses that are good enough to score some points. And right now I picked the over on Titans Saints. The over was 41 was the number. So I figure even 24-20 or something like that would be pretty easy to achieve. It's in the dome, so I think it's it's not like we have weather or something like that will affect the game. It's going to be in kind of sterile conditions really. And yeah, I think Carr is a good quarterback. I think Tannehill is a good quarterback in the right situation. We have DeAndre Hopkins, but making his debut. We have Derrick Henry playing probably. We also have, we don't have. I don't think we have Alvin Kamara playing for the Saints. I think he is suspended at the beginning of the year because of his incident with the beating that guy in the bar or whatever. But we do have Chris Olave and perhaps a return of Michael Thomas with the Saints. So I think there's going to be some points scored. I don't know who's going to win because it's early in the season. So I like the Titans Saints over 41.
I thought
So you're going to watch that game?
I was surprised that you were overs though. I thought you would but you took an over. I thought you tended to be more of an under
I
person.
did. I did last year. I took a lot of unders, but in the preseason, if the number was low, I decided just to go over
Yeah.
because over under to me. It's not the lowest number out there. The lowest I believe was 38 and a half. And that was, or now it's down to 38. No, there's a 38 and there's also a 39 and a half that are lower. But there's a 38, that's the Cardinals Commanders. And both those teams are so inept. I could see them going under that, but I could also see it going over easily. So I want to stay away from that because we
Well,
don't know.
chances are one of the teams may not score maybe at all.
Yeah, but they also might both do okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I had to pick over, I might actually pick under on that really low number because I think both those
I
teams.
wouldn't be surprised if that's like a 14-3 type of game though. Like it's just
Yeah,
they're not offensive powerhouses, and one team seems to be purposely trying to lose, at least on paper anyway.
and neither team has a quarterback that is at least. Well, the Cardinals have kind of proved they don't have a quarterback that is probably NFL caliber starting. I think Joshua Dobbs can fill in a pinch, but I don't think he's proven that he's like a potential, regular starter. We don't really know about Sam Howell, but I don't know. So I guess there's still benefit of the doubt maybe with him, but I don't know. But I think I would like under on that if I pick it, but I think more confidently. There's also a 39 and a half Panthers Falcons, which is also kind of unpredictable. I also think that could go under because I don't think either of those quarterbacks are very good. But with the Titans and Saints, I think we have two good quarterbacks. And so that's why I think it's over. So if it's really bad quarterbacking, I'll probably think under. But here I'm doing over like I did in the preseason when I picked the blanket overs. We'll pick the blanket. We'll pick the over 41.
Continue with the over trend.
Yeah. How about your third pick, Dr. Scaff?
Third pick, again, was sort of picking against a team as much as it is picking for the team I think will win anyway. I've got Jacksonville -5 at Indy. I think both of us are pretty down on our expectations for Indianapolis this season.
Yes.
And I think that will probably show pretty heavily in the very first game that they probably aren't quite ready.
Anthony Richardson.
Early. I think maybe as the season goes on, Anthony Richardson maybe improves. But the first week of the season, I think the expectations will be pretty low. And Jacksonville seemed to be on the way up most of last season, even made the playoffs. So I expect them to, outscore Indy by a touchdown or more.
Yeah, you have the debut also of Calvin Ridley in the Jaguars uniform. He had been suspended for the entire year last year because of his sports gambling issues where he was caught gambling on NFL game. I don't know if it was NFL games or what he was caught doing, but he was there have been a number of suspensions again this year for various teams. It seems like the Chiefs don't have any, but I think the Lions have had several players suspended for gambling. Jameson Williams maybe was, and like some of the bigger these, at least not just backups. I think maybe Jameson Williams. He's suspended for the first 6 games, but they still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. But Jameson Williams was picked as a first-round draft pick because they thought he was really going to be their number 1 receiver. But without those 2 big targets, I think the Chiefs have a better. They have a good secondary. I think they can lock down 1 receiver better. So I'm not gonna we are I don't know, since we don't know what the line's gonna be, we don't know what I wouldn't make it Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are gonna win, but I don't
Yeah,
how many.
but you'd probably take the Chiefs -5.
Minus
Right.
5. Yeah, I probably would.
Would you think you'd take the over under on that one? Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't even be talking about this until you make your third pick. Maybe this is your third pick and we're spoiling it.
No, it's not my third pick. My third pick is almost exactly like my second pick, in that it is an interconference matchup. This is probably more of a clash of the Titans traditionally than the actual Titans Saints game. These are two of the kind of sort of blue blood teams of NFL history. The two teams that have, I think, are top 3 in Super Bowl victories, and that is the total Super Bowl victories. That is the 49ers and the Steelers. The 49ers are at Pittsburgh, I believe. And
Yes.
that game is like the Titans Saints. Over under is 41, and that seems low to me. And I know and I think the 49ers with Purdy, although we don't know exactly how well Purdy's going. The 49ers have a very good offense. They have, McCaffrey in the backfield. They have Brandon Ayuk. They have Deebo Samuel. They have George Kittle. They have a lot of weapons. And I think even if Purdy isn't on completely, I think the Titans will, the 49ers will score at least a decent number of points. I think the Steelers have a good defense, but I think the 49ers have a good offense. And I think the Steelers offense is probably better than what maybe it was last year with Kenny Pickett. And I think the 49ers defense is probably not quite as good as it has been in the last, because we have holdout still for Nick Bosa. Is he closer to signing than?
I haven't heard anything about it. Yeah, in this last week.
Yeah, he says he's just today he's reportedly not expected to be back in the 49ers for the near future. They've offered him over $30 million a year, according to a report. So he's probably just as important to the Niners defense as Chris Jones is to the Chiefs. So I think the Steelers can score some points. So I think 41 is low, especially it's in Pittsburgh, but like it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be like the worst thing is gonna happen. It might rain, but like it's not like, I don't know. I haven't looked at the weather. Maybe I should really be checking weather reports.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be 75 and sunny, so that's
perfect. That's basically the indoor, a climate controlled game.
Yes, and San Francisco is actually favored by 2.5. I would actually lean towards Pittsburgh on that one, because I think at home, going all the way to Pittsburgh to the legendary venue now known as Acrisure Stadium. Acrisure also sounds sort of like some sort of like drug you give to an old person or something to me.
I was gonna say it might be like an ointment.
Ointment, yeah, some sort of balm, salve.
Yeah. Topical cream that's placed maybe somewhere you don't talk about on television.
Yeah. Or it's something that maybe you could get I don't yeah, it's I think it's some sort of drug, I think, even though it's insurance. I don't know. I like Heinz Field.
If Pittsburgh fans heard us talking about the name of their stadium, do you think they'd be upset by this conversation, or do you think they would join in and also be amused, but because they don't like the name of the stadium?
I think some would be upset that we're even saying it. The others would be happy that we don't like it. So I think I don't know. So it depends on the kind of 3-dimensional thought process of a person. If they're more just straight, oh, I hate Acrisure Stadium, don't even talk about it, that person. Or if it's like a person that's as a brain would think it's good that we're making fun.
Well, the stadium itself we don't care about. We're just making fun of the name of it anyway.
But. Yeah, it's a nice stadium. We saw it. We saw it in the Dark Knight Right.
Yes.
It's recovered remarkably well from those horrible
Hmm.
earthquake fissures that
Bane's destruction of the park. Yeah.
Heinz Ward still had a pretty good return, even though like
The ground was crumbling below it.
wasn't it Heinz Ward? I think it
I
was
think
Heinz.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was Pittsburgh, aka Gotham, which was it was Chicago in The Dark Knight, and then it became Pittsburgh in Dark Knight Rises for some reason.
Yeah.
As if
I
we
think
wouldn't
they
notice.
like
I don't
roll
know.
up in
It
New
was
York.
so
And
weird. Like, why are
yeah.
we switch? Like, why don't they just I guess it's more expensive to film in New York, but like
Yeah.
Gotham is New York. That's what it goes back to Washington Irving. Why are we making Chicago Gotham? Why are we making it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, I guess you can film it there, but you can I don't know. People film in Canada and make it look like New York, and you just
Yeah.
I guess you
Yeah. A
don't
lot
want
of Vancouver shows.
I guess you don't want it to look cheap. And Pittsburgh has become kind of a big filming destination, especially for TV shows lately.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah, like a Mindhunter was filmed in Pittsburgh, and the New League of Their Own show was filmed in Pittsburgh, and that what was that? That did you watch that one on Netflix? The tape, like the guy was repairing like these damaged like old videotapes. Archive 82, was that what it was? Archive 82, I think.
Oh,
That was filmed in
yeah.
Pittsburgh too.
What was that?
It,
Yeah. Was that in Pittsburgh? Oh, I didn't know that.
it was set in New York, the first part
Yeah.
was, but then like when he went to that like isolated house, that's a house in
Yeah. No, that was
suburbs.
a weird show. I did watch that.
I watched the beginning of it, then I kind of lost interest.
Yeah.
And
It got
and
weirder as it went on, though. So
yeah, maybe
if you like weird, then you should finish it.
yeah, I don't always.
No, okay.
It has to be a certain kind of weird. And
That's not.
but
That wasn't it.
well, it wasn't my kind of weird, I guess. It didn't have it wasn't interesting enough, I thought. And there
What was that
wasn't
weird sci-fi show that I know you were watching with like that monster that was like made of
well,
teeth?
teeth. That was yeah, there were two it was like a series. It was kind of an anthology.
Yeah.
Um something channel zero.
Yeah, it's Channel Zero. That's it. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew
And
you would remember what it was. That was just
Candle Cove was the first season. And
that
then
was
I saw
the tooth monster thing was in that one
yeah,
though.
yeah. And I saw the No End House too, where there was like this weird to like do you remember that one, No End House? It
I
didn't
don't
make
know
any
that I finished
sense.
that one.
I,
Yeah.
I watched it. It didn't make any sense. It's like, wouldn't people know, like, or like the authorities know, like, in their town, like, oh, some weird house appeared out of nowhere, and then
Right.
people are walking in and going, it's like a haunted house, but like,
They don't come out.
and then like, yeah, like, there's no police presence or anything. It's it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Camp Cove was kind of stupid too, but the teeth monster was really creepy. The
Yes.
chiclet look, and like, it was like it was these front teeth. It seemed like mostly, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was like a human, but like completely covered head to
Yeah,
toe in teeth.
yeah, that
It
was.
was very strange.
And it had what's Mark Brandanowitz from the earlier less good seasons of um uh what's the show that's set in Pawnee, Indiana?
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Recreation. Yeah, the
Yeah.
one with Leslie Knope. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He was the love interest before um uh
Maybe just to finish the Pittsburgh San Francisco game,
oh yeah, we've really gone off track.
Kenny Pickett had a perfect passer rating in preseason. Will he continue to have a perfect passer rating in this game?
No, but I don't know. I guess it's possible. He had a 76.7 passer rating last year. But I think he'll be a decent quarterback this year. And I think, got a lot better as the year went on. I think he only threw like 2 interceptions over his last 8 or 9 games. So it was, he was 7-5 as a starter, but I think those earlier games he was not, they were winning kind of in spite of him rather than
Because of
him. And at least towards the end, I think it was not, maybe it wasn't because of him, but it also wasn't in spite of him. He was a neutral addition. but I think now he can be a positive addition to the Steelers. And I think this doesn't help the over under, but they are having JJ Watt back, which I think might actually help them possibly cover or even win outright against the 49ers, because they're always they basically, TJ Watt and Nick Bosa are probably two of the top 5, maybe top 2 even edge rushers in the league. So the 49ers missing theirs and the Steelers having theirs back when he missed most of the last year, I think could also change things around. So
Yeah.
I like, anyway, that's a preview of mine. I think I like the Steelers money line and over 41.
And then just for the record, Chiefs -5, over under 53. What would you go there? I know neither of us have chosen this. I think we both kind of want to stay away from the Chiefs.
Yeah,
We didn't make our top 3 picks for this time.
I would pick the Chiefs spread probably either way. I'm not going to bet against them.
Yeah.
On opening night. The over under though is going to be more interesting. Because I think if Kelsey plays, I'd take the over. If Kelsey doesn't play, I'd take the under probably. Because I think Kelsey is helpful to the offense, and they might play a slight. But I think also it's possible going over, because I think without Chris Jones, the Lions are going to be allowing more points, and the Chiefs are going to have to play more of a pass-happy offense to keep ahead. And maybe this is one of those times where Andy Reid's not going to let his foot off the gas like he does, or not try to thread the needle at the end of the game to try to just make it so we can kick a field goal with 0 seconds left and hope that we win by 2 points, rather than scoring a touchdown, which we could otherwise, and be ahead by 5 points with 20 seconds left, rather than down by 1 point with 2 seconds left and kicking a field goal so we win. Like I don't like when they do that. They lost the game a couple of years ago when they tried to do that with because Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled against Baltimore, and they were trying to play for the field goal and 0 time left, rather than just assuming, well, most teams are not going to score touchdowns against us in 20 seconds. Why? Or like if we're ahead by, we're up by 4 points and there are 2 minutes left, why not score a touchdown, go up by 11 points with a minute and a half left, rather than trying to just, work the clock and not really go for a first down and just kind of run it or short pass it. And then if you screw it up, well, now you're only up by 4 with that same amount of time. I don't like it. I would just rather, again, it's not as easy as it looks, I'm sure, but I think maybe without Jones, there might be just more throwing the ball with, giving the ball to Mahomes and letting him pass. And that's, passing is more efficient than running in the NFL. It's been proven that for many, many years, even though most coaches have taken a long time to realize that. So it's
some maybe still haven't.
No, yeah, a lot of still haven't. Yeah, I think the idea that defense and running the game wins championships, and the way to beat Mahomes is to run the football. But I think the way to I don't know if that really. I think the way to beat the Chiefs is to score more points than the Chiefs, and usually you have to score a lot of points to beat the Chiefs. So I could see this as a running, not a terribly big running game. But Jahmyr Gibbs is playing as the first-round draft pick for Detroit, and he's kind of a running, receiving kind of hybrid kind of guy, a little bit like Edwards-Helaire was thought to be when he came out. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs is had the faster 40-yard dash times and things like that. And he was picked much earlier in the first round than Clyde was. But I still, I like over. I guess I like the over, especially if Kelsey is there. He's not there. I would guess also the over underline might go down, so maybe I'd take over anyway. But at 53, I might go.
If the over under line goes low enough, you would still take it.
And I still might even take it now, but I'm 50-50.
I mean, this game could go very wrong though too, and maybe the Lions, who finished their season last year very strongly, maybe they come out even stronger and the Chiefs are flat. That could still go way over that.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are still probably going to score 28 points at least, and so I think I like the and maybe you also would say, well, the last time Jared Goff played against Mahomes and the Chiefs, that was when he played for the Rams, and that was their kind of epic 54-51 win in the Los Angeles Coliseum, the game that had been moved from Mexico City because of the Shakira concert damage to Estadio Azteca, and so the Chiefs had to go to Estadio Azteca the year later when they beat the Chargers because of a Dan Sorensen interception at the end. You remember that when we thought. Yes, my favorite. That was when Sorensen had an equal number of brilliant plays, two awful plays, and then like the next year, the brilliant plays were gone, and the awful plays were there, and we just realized that he's too slow and too old, and we don't want him around anymore. And
they finally made that happen for you.
Yeah, they sent him to New Orleans for me. Yeah. So now Dan Sorensen's not public enemy number one of the Chiefs for me. But yeah, so so that was 105, so that went way over whatever the number was. I think it maybe was. Yeah. I think it was like 58. No matter
what the over-under was, it wasn't that high.
I think they put it like at 58 or something, and that was low. And there were actually a lot of turnovers in that game and defensive touchdowns. Like wasn't a game where it was just the defenses weren't doing anything, but it was just a very high school. That was the year, of course, that Mahomes first started, and he threw 50 touchdowns and was MVP, and the Chiefs lost in overtime to the Patriots the year before they won the Super Bowl. But that was when Goff was seen as an up-and-coming quarterback for the Rams, but kind of fizzled, but it's kind of rekindled his career. At least he looks really good as an NFC quarterback. He looked as I guess even back then as an NFC quarterback, he didn't look as good because there were more good NFC quarterbacks 5 years ago, because we had younger Aaron Rodgers. We had
Drew Brees is probably still there.
Drew Brees was probably, I think Brees, it was Brees' last year. Yeah. Russell Wilson was in the NFC then and had been solid. Yeah. Eli Manning was still playing. And we didn't have Brady yet to the NFC, but there were a lot more good. I think that was really when Dak Prescott took off too early in his career. That was Kirk Cousins' first year. So it seemed like the NFC quarterbacks were not. Matt Ryan was still playing, coming off of an MVP season the year before. So, it was a lot. There was more talent.
Wentz.
That was when Wentz was still regarded highly, or you had Nick Foles, who would
dynamically.
Yeah, I don't remember. Was Nick Foles on the Chiefs in 2018, or was he on the Eagles in 2018?
That might have been his Eagles year.
We're looking it up right now. He was on the Eagles. He was the Super Bowl MVP in 2017. He was still on the Eagles in 2018. 2019, he signed with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So that was Foles was named the starter at the beginning of 2018, and then Wentz came in later, but Foles finished the season as well and played in the playoffs for the Eagles in 2018 as well, but the Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl like they did the year before. But yeah, anyway, so who knows what's going to happen this week? We know what happened 5 years ago, but do you have anything final to add? Any other games that you're looking forward to on the schedule that you?
Yeah, there were some kind of like dumpy games that, I don't really even want to watch anyway. Usually have some interest in most games, but there were a couple that weren't so much.
Well, you bet on one of them. I think the Jags, Colts. You might say the Titans, Saints, Bears, Packers are not. So good.
I think maybe Bills, Jets, maybe one of the more interesting games, just because of like what has gone into the getting to this point.
Yeah.
Miami Chargers could be.
That sounds like a game. Yeah, this is one of those weeks where you don't want to waste maybe your premium matchups on week one, because everybody's going to watch week one anyway because it's opening day. So it doesn't really matter. Like, you want to have your good matchups later, I think, in the season, because people want to tune in, and you'll know which teams are good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so early on, I was trying to pick teams I thought that weren't going to be very good and just pick against those guys instead of betting maybe on the teams I think are better.
Yeah, I think Panthers Falcons is going to be terrible.
It's rough.
Um, Cardinals Commanders obviously terrible.
Like Ravens Texans probably
Ravens Texans is going to be a bloodbath for the Texans, I think.
most likely.
Um,
Vikings Bucks doesn't sound very entertaining either, though. I don't know. It seems like
no, with Baker Mayfield and a Dalvin Cookless. Like I guess you have Justin Jefferson star power, but it's still kind of old Kirk Cousins.
yeah.
Um,
But who
yeah.
knows? Maybe some of these games will actually be like, you know,
Rams Seahawks might be a down or two. You don't know what the Rams are looking like, and maybe the Seahawks were a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Cowboys Giants might also be bad because we don't know if, like, is Daniel Jones really a decent quarterback, or is Dallas just as bad? Like, are they not really that good?
Well, and it's just trying to predict which game Dallas is going to take some horrible injury that will, you know, end their season's hopes right away. It happens seemingly every year. But yeah, how far into the season will it take to get to that disappointment day?
Yeah, is Dak gonna get hurt again in week 1, or CeeDee Lamb or Tony Pollard? They got rid of Zeke. Now they have Tony Pollard as their feature back. Is he gonna get if that's something, that seems to happen to Dallas early in the season, then but now they have Trey Lance as a potential savior if something goes wrong with Dak. No, we hope nothing happens to any of these quarterbacks, but we like to take every contingency possible here at the Morning Trek Power Hour. But yeah, I think it'll be a good. It's hard to say what games will be good, but it's just, even if they're bad games, it's still the NFL, and football is back, so I'm probably going to watch it if it's on in front of me, and I'm definitely going to watch Thursday night, the Chiefs Lions, which is actually, I think, a really good game.
Yeah.
Because it's really a measuring stick for the Lions, who've been predicted to be a kind of up and coming power in the NFC, and you also want to see where the Chiefs are. And everybody wants to see Patrick Mahomes play, even if you dislike Patrick Mahomes. He's the biggest star in the game right now. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully Kelsey plays, and I hope the Chiefs win. Do you have any other comments to add before
we'll be back next week with results from our massive pick haul that we're going to be doing offline, and the results from our confidence picks essentially here.
Yeah, we'll have the 3 that we give here, the special 3 that only our listeners get extra access to for the low price of $0, because our entertainment here on the Morning Trek Power Hour is always free, unless we can find a way to make money off of it. Then we will start charging. But I don't. We probably would, but because we're capitalist pigs at heart. And on that note,
yes,
I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Morning Trek Power Hour. Please like or subscribe to our podcast or our YouTube channel. The podcasts are available on pretty much any medium you can think of. Maybe not when it's exaggerating, but the major ones, you know what they are. And also on YouTube here. And we wish you happy opening day. We also hope you're enjoying the early college football season and the baseball season winding up. We're the Royals fans, so we don't really care, but there are I'm sure some playoff races and things like that going on. But those teams are 40 wins ahead of the Royals, and we can't. It's just they're so far ahead. It's they're beyond the horizon, so it's not even worth trying to look at through binoculars. So, but the NFL starting with and every team has hope at the beginning of the season, and even teams that are bad one year can turn it around in 1 year, typically in the NFL. Sometimes I don't know if that's going to happen this year with anybody, but it might. Who knows? And so that's what the fun's about, and we will wait with bated breath this upcoming NFL season. So on those notes, those many notes, we wish you good day.